Hey guys, before we get started, I'd just like to apologize for not making any videos recently. I took a short break from League because I was starting to burn out, but now I'm back and plan on making more videos on a more consistent basis. So let's jump right into it. This will be part of a new series called Community Corner, where I'll bring up a topic, talk about it for a little bit, tell you what I think, and then give you guys a chance to talk about it in the comment section. For the first video, I want to talk about duo queue and, primarily, whether or not it should even exist. Before we get into what I think about it, let's set up a list of pros and cons and try to be as bias-free as possible. The first pro is probably what comes to mind first for everyone. You don't have to worry about the force slot in your team, so the chance of getting a griefer on your side is lessened. Not only do you not have to worry about the force slot on your team, but you can snag two roles that work well together, such as jungle and mid, and carry the game through good synergy. Being able to control multiple areas on the map reliably is a huge contributor to success in a ranked game. The second pro might be assuming too much, but you're probably going to have more fun when you're duo queuing with a friend. Unless you're a very independent person who likes doing things alone most of the time, duo queuing with a friend is going to be more refreshing than playing with four other random people. You can joke around, sing songs, discuss strategy, friend stuff. Not only this, but assuming you have a griefer in your game less often, your game should be less toxic and more enjoyable overall. This is, of course, assuming that you and your duo queue partner get along well. That's all I have for the pros, so let's move on to the cons. The first con is that duo queuing skews your rating and, therefore, your presumed individual skill level. If the rank ladder is supposed to place you according to your individual skill level, does it make much sense, logically, to be able to queue up with a partner? Let's use an example of a player whose true MMR is about 1800 and another player whose true MMR is about 1300. If they duo queued, the 1800 player may be able to carry the 1300 player up to about 1600 before he's unable to carry any further. If we assume the system works properly, which I think is a fair assumption, the 1300 player will slowly drop back down to 1300 and likely spell certain defeat for his teammates each game. Is that fair to all the teams he will be on when he solo queues? Now this is where someone smart comes along and says, well, this is just like the elo hell problem. He's simply entered into the system as a griefer, and each player queuing has an equal chance to be on his team. And that's a good point, but it does raise the total amount of griefers overall, so why should we allow him to get into that position in the first place? The second con is that players who queue with another player are more likely to blame the other three players in their team rather than put the blame on their partner. Now, I'm certainly not a psychologist, but this to me screams groupthink. Groupthink is a psychological phenomenon that occurs within a group of people in which the desire for harmony or conformity in the group results in an incorrect or deviant decision-making outcome. Group members try to minimize conflict and reach a consensus decision without critical evaluation of alternative ideas or viewpoints, and by isolating themselves from outside influences. In other words, if your partner makes a mistake, you're more likely to blame someone else on the team to avoid conflict with your duo queue partner. This is bad for two reasons. First, if you act on this blame, you're more likely to argue with your teammates and be, overall, a more toxic player. Second, groupthink inhibits your ability to improve. If your duo queue partner is likely to defend your mistakes, you will never learn from them and become a better player. Because, after all, the best way to get better at anything in life is to learn from your mistakes. Now that we've gone through the pros and cons, it's time to hear what I think about duo queuing. That is, if my bias wasn't clear enough through the pros and cons. Personally, I think that duo queue is obnoxious, and I sincerely hope it gets removed from the game, although I don't see that happening anytime soon. From my personal experience, most duo queue partners suffer massively from groupthink, and their tendency to be toxic shoots through the roof. But even with that aside, it simply doesn't make sense to include duo queue in a system that is supposed to be a representation of your individual skill level. I don't duo queue for the same reason that I listed previously. It inhibits the learning experience. Because I play this game to get better, it doesn't make sense for me to duo queue. I care much less about my rating and much more about my skill level. But I want to hear what you guys think. Do you think that duo queue should be permitted? Let me know in the comments section below. If you have any other pros or cons to add to the list, make sure you put those down there too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.